emergency when you're...
Who let the dogs out?
What's your emergency?
Who let the dogs out? Who let the dogs out?
Hello. Welcome to another episode of We Speak Dispatch. We have all of our usual participants. We've got Doug over there and Joe over there and Leslie down there. We have a very special guest on today. It's Chaplain Ron from the National Fallen Officers Foundation and his special canine, Molly, who's going to talk about what Molly does and what he does for police officers and for law enforcement agencies.
Absolutely.
And
Molly has been over 5,000 visits. She's been
Wow.
over 100 critical incident calls.
Oh my God.
And Molly is a trauma response dog, a therapy/trauma response dog. She responds to officer down shootings. She responds to officer involved shootings with their families. And we also are involved in tragically mass shootings. Molly has been to 4 school shootings, and she has also been to the Waffle House shooting that we had in Nashville a few years ago.
Oh, yeah.
Molly responded to that. So she is a trauma response. She does what a dog does. She licks, she comforts, she's trained to go to a child when a child's in trauma and just start licking on her. The National Veterinarian Association says that when a dog or cat licks you, a happy chemical actually goes through your body. So it's kind of cool. And so Molly goes and does all that. And like I said, she is my partner. Everywhere I go, she goes.
That's
Nice.
awesome. So
How
tell
long
me
have y'all been
about-
together, Ron?
Molly and I have
Sorry.
been together since she was 6 weeks old. She
Oh,
was
my.
left out in Nashville, Tennessee to die with her mom at 6 years old, and somebody found her and we adopted her. We had just had to put our
Oh.
Gabby down from kidney failure.
Mhm.
And we adopted Molly at 6 weeks old. We trained her through the American Kennel Club. And then at 2 years old, she became a therapy dog. We were actually training another one named Maddie, but if I brought Maddie in here, she would just try to chew up the computer. So we are still training Maddie. Maddie is still a child. She's barely over a year old, but we're training her. Molly is slowing down just a little bit, but she's been with me 11 years and actually about 9 years as a therapy dog.
Oh,
And,
wow.
That's
she's,
amazing.
So how is it that somebody gets a hold of you if they have an event at their agency? How is it that somebody gets a hold of you and maybe Molly can come visit?
Oh
their
yeah,
agency?
they can basically email me if they want to. My personal email is first responder chaplain 45@gmail.com. If they go to the website and it's sent to National Law Enforcement, we have a wonderful lady named Carrie that will forward the email to me. So
We'll put those up on the screen.
yeah. Obviously we work a lot in Texas because that's where I live. And we would love to bring Molly in and, would love to be able to show, especially we're starting to take her to schools now. Schools are starting to open again. So we're starting to take her to schools. And Molly is also a local trauma response dog for 3 Greater San Antonio law enforcement agencies: Balcone Heights, Von Army, and Windcrest. Molly is their therapy dog, and I'm their volunteer chaplain. And actually, in a few weeks, Molly is going to get a badge that says the Texas Fallen Officer Foundation. So
Oh, very
Oh,
nice.
wow, that's cool. I love how she just
Yeah.
looked right at the camera. She's just like, what up?
No, she's so used to that and stuff. She always says when she gets on film now, she says, "Talk to my agent." So
That's right. Talk to them.
So look at her look away like, yeah, I'm too busy for
Yeah,
that.
it's like, wow.
So,
let me-
Ron,
let me
I'm
ask you-
curious. Oh, sorry, Glenn. I keep cutting you off because I've
That's
got
okay.
other questions, but-
That's okay. That's
So
probably
you
a good
mentioned
thing.
that Molly has special training. What does that entail? Because and then you also mentioned that she just is a dog as well. So
yeah, she
what
was
is that?
trained through the American Kennel Club. We taught her how to sit, to lie down, to be close to people. And what I always tell people, God trained her, I didn't. So she's just absolutely, she is just absolutely a good dog to train. Some dogs are a little rougher. It just depends. And Molly was just real good. She passed everything on the first time out, and
Oh, wow.
it was just a really good. She has that real temperament, that lab, that lab German mixed temperament. That really is a good temperament. That she is real tender with people, and it was just basically easy to train.
Wow.
Wow.
Very nice.
Okay, Glenn, I'm not going to say anything. You go.
Okay, so so right now there tends to be a big push to get station canines for law enforcement agencies or dispatch dogs. Not necessarily emotional support dogs. As I've learned, there is a difference between a station canine and an emotional support dog. And at my agency, and I know at Leslie's agency, we do have a station dog, and we emotionally support that dog.
That is so fantastic. Yeah, that is.
And so kind of talk to us about the benefits of having a dog in your station, or the benefits of bringing a dog into just kind of hang out.
Molly, actually, before we really got into law enforcement and did that, Molly started with dispatchers. That's who she started with. And
good job, Molly.
As you know, the National Tennessee Dispatch Unit is actually a large unit, and we went in there to be with them, especially after an officer involved shooting or an officer goes down. Dispatchers are the ones that I call our hidden heroes, because they have to really hold this in emotionally and keep doing their job until this thing is gone. And then they really cannot have an outlet to it because they're not out there in the field. And so we encourage people to get a station dog if they can, but if not, to get somebody to come in regularly into the 911 dispatcher area to be able to do that. We always make sure when we take care of officers, we take care of our dispatchers. As far as I'm concerned, they're synonymous. We've got to take care of both of them. I know the officers in our area says there are dispatchers out there that have literally saved my life before. They really have, to get me in the right place, to get me to where I'm supposed to go, to be calm with the person over the phone until we get there, to have the EMS stage until we get there, So I want you to know you guys are hidden heroes. And I tell you what you do is something that very few people in the country can do.
Ron, how did you get into this? I mean, were you in law enforcement before? Or?
No, I never was. I was actually a cook in the military. And I had a friend of mine in Nashville that was a commander, and I used to ride around with him all the time in 2008, 2009. And I started getting interested. And once I trained Molly, he told me, he said, Ron, what you are doing with Molly is just as important as a man or woman that carries a gun and a badge. And that really got me encouraged, because he said, you guys are really supportive on people like Molly and chaplains to come in to be able to help you as retired highway patrol. I know you probably said, man, it was good to have our chaplain come out, everything. And so, so that's what got me into it. I had no experience. I just went in, I started learning it. It took me about 4 years to break through the blue wall in Nashville. But here it's not taking that long because of my experience. I'm part of the International Conference of Police Chaplains, and that's really helped with the training. I just went through an online training the other day of a chaplain's responsibility in a hostage situation, to where there's 3 perimeters. There's the hot perimeter for the officers and everybody to be in, and the second and third perimeter, and that's kind of where the chaplain stands in.
Wow.
Right.
So if you responded to kind of a strange question for you here, Chaplain Ron, if you responded to a station that had a station dog, how good is Molly with other
Molly's
dogs?
okay.
That's a good question.
Windcrest has a station dog for their fire department that they've adopted. It was an abandoned dog in the street they adopted. They try to really put her up when Molly comes by, because there's kind of a territorial thing there. So Molly's okay. She just ignores it. Molly's not aggressive or biting or anything like that. But if the other dog is, the station will say, let me put the dog up real quick so we can have Molly out here.
And they probably know, huh?
Yeah. So, and and most of your 911, I wish there were more, but as you know, as 911 dispatchers, you probably only have just a few that have a station dog.
I didn't know any until they did. They had them, and I'm like, we didn't have anything like that.
No,
We are one of the first in our area. We have a retired captain that has a connection to, basically we call them flunkies, although it just means that, like, the one that we got was for the some blind foundation, and she would bark to be let out or something like that, or she just did something that they didn't like, and she couldn't wear a harness. She would shut down if she wore a harness. So she got off the training, and then we got her because they didn't want to give her to a blind person, and she couldn't wear a harness. So that's how we got a hold of her. But it's pretty rare.
And most of your 911 agencies in your metropolitan cities, it's different, but most of them have 1, 2, or 3 that work a day. I mean, it's not a lot of people down there.
Yeah.
Wow.
But bringing a dog in really does help them, because they can spend time with the dog. and they can be able to do that. Most of the 911 areas I go just have one or two that work at night or work during the day, and so
Right.
I'm able to bring Molly in and be able to help that. I did it just the other night. Falcon Heights, which is in Greater San Antonio, just brought me on as their volunteer chaplain, and I brought Molly in, and they were just wonderful. I took Molly to Chad Walker's funeral, the officer in Texas that was ambushed up in Mahia. And people just laid down and cried on the dog. That's how devastated it was about Mahia. He had worked for Mahia, and then he worked for the DPS, and they did. And it was really funny because going through, I got to share this with you, going to Mahia, I came through Temple, and I was going too fast, and the DPS trooper got behind me and pulled me over. And he said, the first thing I want you to know, Chaplain, I'm not giving you a ticket. And we started talking, and he was a pleasant conversation. He said, I'm close to my chaplain. I do not give God tickets. So it was kind of funny. We had a good time, but it was a pleasant call. We had a chance to talk about each other's lives, and it was just kind of fun.
Oh, I'm glad to hear that.
What's the furthest place you've gone with Molly, where you've went?
The furthest place that I've gone with Molly was probably, I probably was when I was in Nashville. I went up toward the Kentucky-Illinois line when Mayfield, Benton, Kentucky had that school shooting. And then I went down to Memphis when a student had committed suicide, and I went down and helped them and everything like that. So that's probably the farthest I go. I'm willing to go in Texas a lot farther. We're still working on this. I just came on 3.5 months ago as their chaplain for the Texas Fallen Officer Foundation, which covers the Texas area. National covers everywhere else. And and so I am privileged to be able to go, and they try to take care of me when I go. So it's really good. I was going to go to this one, but it was just conflicts up. But usually anything within 3 to 4 hours, I will try to get to. Everything I will.
So what kind of downtime? I mean, what does Molly do in her downtime, or after you've handled a big event like that?
Sleeps.
What is she?
She plays at night. Her and I roll on the ground together. And even at 11, she runs around, sticks her little butt in, and starts running around and plays with me. And she tries to play with the little one too. The little one has got more energy, so Molly will growl at her, so she'll get away from her. Everything. But we just do that. I try to take usually Sunday and Monday. We don't go out at all, and that gives her a chance to rest.
Good.
And during the week, I'm usually out visiting 3 or 4 hours a day, and then I'm basically on the computer doing, social media stuff.
Can you see, like, if she's gone to like a school where they're having something going on, can you tell like she is like tired? Like this is a lot of people.
Yeah, it is. She tries to do it, especially when she deals with kids with special needs. It's really tough because those kids are really, hyperactive and, want to be around Molly. And, sometimes I have kids that have come up and slapped her in the face and, I've had to pull her back and, she's real calm. Most dogs you slap in the face, they're not going to be real happy, but Molly was okay. And I usually don't try to keep her at a school more than about 2.5 to 3 hours. And
okay.
Bring her on home.
So you talked about
have been out all day long, and Molly's been okay, but it's so funny. I'll get her home when I've had her out all day long, and if I try to touch her, she'll growl at me a little bit and say, "Leave me alone," So I've got to give this opportunity. This is so neat. We went to a Nashville, Tennessee police roll call, and the sergeant got up and kept going on and on and on, and finally, in the middle of nowhere, Molly just went out. All of a sudden, they told the sergeant, that means for you to shut up and sit down.
Awesome.
Wow.
So it was good. So Molly's had some great ones, but she has been a good dog. We've never had one instance of bad conduct with her.
Oh, that's
the
good.
only time that she'll get scared if I take her to a police memorial where there's a 21 gun salute.
Oh yeah.
She may end up doing number 2. So because she's doing that, but retired guy with highway patrol, you probably have known dogs that have cased out a house and just squatted at the end,
Oh, yeah.
And some officers too, but
yeah, some officers too. Yeah, you're right. And they say, "We'll clean it up. We're sorry," So yeah.
Go ahead, Joe. You had a question?
I was just going to say, you talked about responding to critical incidents and officer-involved shootings and school shootings and things along that nature. Do you respond to things that aren't necessarily bad in nature?
No, yes, absolutely. That's probably, I would say that's 80% of what we do right now.
Oh, wow.
Because the 20%, I love, there's a movie put out by Fallen Officer Foundation called, Officer Memorial Foundation called Fallen. And the movie talks about that 90% of police work is social, 10% is pure terror. So that's what we try to do. As Chris Conniff said, when an officer goes down on the line of duty, not only a agency grieves, a whole nation grieves.
Yep.
And it's really true. And so 70 to 80% of what we do is going out. We put together goodie bags. My wife has put together over 500 of them. Goodie bags for officers. We go to Positive Promotions and buy 911 resources, and we give out stuff to the kids. We give out teddy bears to the kids. Molly goes with me on that. And so we do that because I find out that if I can be with the officers and the personnel and the 911 dispatchers in the good times, then they will trust me when a crisis hits.
Sure.
So
I love
that's what
that.
we're trying to do, building that relationship in the good times, so that when a crisis hits, I'm on their radar and they say, let's give the chaplain a call.
Yeah.
Man,
And then last question I got for you is, you ever been a part of a critical incident debriefing where Molly was there to keep people at kind of ease?
If you remember in Nashville, we had an officer that was killed by a drunk driver about 1.5 years ago. And I was at their debriefing. And what I try to do at those debriefings, and if any others had happened, we try to make sure the officers have a meal at least once a month. First time it's once a week, then it goes to once a month, because the news stories are going to go to another story. That's the nature of the beast. Okay, that's what they're going to do. So during the debriefing, I will be there, but then afterwards, I'll make sure for 6 months to a year, especially if there's an officer that died, that station is known that people care about them at least once a month. Because 6 months down the road, when I'm feeding them, and this happened in Nashville, when I feed them, they'll go, wow, you still care about us. You know,
That's cool.
And that's very important.
yes.
Well, Chaplain Ron and Molly, thank you so much for coming on.
Well, thank
We really
you on that and
appreciate
everything.
that.
Will you guys have a clip on this or not? Do you have a clip that you can send me, or is this live?
It'll be actually.
No,
we're
it's
gonna
not
post
live. Doug's recording it.
It'll be everywhere shortly, so it'll be
Okay,
Yeah.
great. Well, be sure to send that to me, okay, during the
yeah.
you know, my thing. And
I'll
I just
send you.
appreciate what you guys do. And as 911 dispatchers, I know that you have a great relationship with your officers and your deputies and your EMS personnel and firemen. And it's just great to know that we all work together at the end of the day on this thing.
Yep,
And so
that's
Yes.
it's
And I love, taking care of each other. That's what
taking
it's all
care
about.
of each other and everything like that. This afternoon, Chicago had 2 officers that were shot.
Oh my
And
gosh.
they're going to be okay. They had a New
Good.
Jersey guy that was hit by a guy who tried to run over him and everything. He
This
was
is
hit.
craziness
So,
out there.
I don't know what his situation
Crazy
is,
times.
but yeah, it's just things happen. As you know, every 53 hours, an officer, a man or woman, goes down the line of duty.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Jesus.
It's great. Well, thank you guys for having us,
Thank
and
you for
man,
coming.
we enjoyed it so much and everything.
Oh, good. Molly, thank you very
very
much for
much.
coming on.
We
You
really
guys take
did.
care.
Thank you very much. Have a
You
great
too.
day. Okay, see you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Y'all later.
Hi, this is Courtney, and you've been listening to another great episode of We Speak Dispatch, proudly sponsored by our friends at Zybex.
Who let the dogs out?
911 emergency.
Who